Hey everyone, my name is Chelsea. Welcome to Little Mountain Ranch. Welcome to my living room. I'm really happy to have you here with me today for a Q&A. I asked about 3 weeks ago over on a community post if any of you had any questions that you would like to have answered in a Q&A video, and I received a ton of responses. At one point I actually had to take the post down just because there was more questions than I would ever be able to answer in a video of any sort of reasonable length. I've organized the questions into sections because there were very sort of distinct topics that you guys wanted me to cover. One was family, Dan and I and our kids. One was farming, and the other was just sort of general YouTube questions. So I thought I would organize this video into those 3 categories and try to hit as many of your questions as I possibly can. I would recommend that you grab yourself a cup of tea, a coffee, and I have a really cute kitten here. This was one of our children's Christmas presents, and they said that it was one of the best Christmas presents they ever received. She is a cutie pie and is probably going to be very distracting. I might need her to be taken into another space. Hey, cutie pie. Anyways, I would recommend that you grab yourself a cup of tea like I have, or a cup of coffee, or a beverage of your choice, and sit down and have a little visit with me. That is for me, you silly kitty. She is a shoulder kitty. She loves sitting on everybody's shoulders, and she's still tiny enough to be able to do that. Do you guys still have your Christmas tree up? It is the 28th today, and I am usually somebody who has my Christmas tree down either the eve of Christmas Day or the next day at the absolute latest, which is Boxing Day here in Canada. My plan is to get the tree down in the next day or so, and then I'm going to put a corner china cabinet. We're just on the hunt for one right now to go in the corner here to put all of my all of my antique cookbooks in, along with some china that I have. My grandmother used to paint porcelain, and I have a collection of porcelain from her. My mom for Christmas gave me an antique sugar bowl and cream, like sugar and cream set, and it's really beautiful, and I need them to be somewhere safe, especially with this little girl around because she's knocking everything over at this stage. But you guys know that I had been talking about making some kind of cabinet by my stove, but after hearing your feedback and thinking about it a little bit more, putting our antique cookbooks anywhere in the kitchen is probably not a great idea because they're going to get splashed on. Even if I have them in a glassed-in case, they're probably going to get greasy and things like that. So we are going to get a cover or some type of china cabinet to put them in over here, and I'm really looking forward to that. But that is not what we're here to talk about today. We are here to answer your questions. So let's start with all of the questions, oh my goodness, about Dan and I. So there was a whole series of questions that were sort of about Dan and I, our history, our marriage, whether both of us are on board with homesteading, questions like that. So I'm just going to kind of chat about our history in hopes of answering most of those questions kind of all at once rather than kind of doing question, answer. So Dan and I met in 1992, so it will be 33 years in February since we went on our first date. Well, we didn't actually officially kind of start dating in that sense. I was just about 15 and he had just turned 16. So we weren't at that age of kind of going on dates. We were just like, you know, would you be my girlfriend kind of thing at that stage. But we got very serious right away. And within around a year or so, we were actually living together. So we celebrate our anniversary from the February date, so 33 years this coming up February. But we got married in 1997, so 26 years ago. And yeah, we always forget that that's our anniversary though, so we don't celebrate that one. We had our first son, who is now 27, when I was 19, and Dan had just turned 21. And we have our first grandson, who is 17 months old, I think now, who is an absolute joy. I highly recommend grandchildren. It is so much fun, and he and I have a really special relationship, which I enjoy immensely, and we're lucky enough that they live in the same town as us, so we get to see him all the time. There was a few questions about why Dan isn't in the videos more often, and honestly, he's not a huge fan of being in front of the camera, but I think if we were talking more about things that were kind of within his wheelhouse or things that he was interested in or were his kind of passion things, he would probably be on the camera more. And in fact, he's talked about starting his own channel that would be more of a project-based channel. He's really into mechanics. He has lots of machinery, does lots of building and things like that. And I think he would have no problem doing that. But with my channel, because we're talking about more of the homemaking aspects of homesteading, and that's not really his area of expertise, he always feels a little bit awkward when he's on the camera in my videos. But you do see him on my channel. If you're new here, he does kind of come by and wave at the camera, or if we're talking about something that he's that's a project he's focused on. Like right now, we've been talking about our cabins and he's working on those. So he's often in those videos. We're going to be doing a video coming up very soon where we're talking about our solar systems and installing the wood stoves and things like that. And he's in those videos. Do we both love to homestead? There are elements. In fact, Dan just came in the house last night and was talking about how much he loves the freedom of this kind of lifestyle. And like I just mentioned, he really likes machines and he likes dirt bikes and quads and snowmobiles and that sort of thing. And we basically have endless amounts of acreage that we can explore and have fun on those kinds of machines. So he really enjoys that kind of freedom. He enjoys this, just the space, the nature, all of that. Are you going to come on my shoulder? But he definitely, the animals are more my thing. The animals and the gardening, food preservation, that whole part of the homesteading kind of lifestyle is definitely where my passions lie, much more so than his. He does participate in all of those things. He's out feeding the cows right now. He helps me with butchering. I do most of the butchering, but he does a lot of the kills for me. So he does the shooting. I tend to do everything after that point. But he of course maintains all the equipment. He does all the haying. He does the road clearing, the road building, all of the kind of heavy lifting kind of work that is done on our homestead. Dan does. So, and he enjoys a lot of that kind of stuff. But he would say, if you were to ask him, he would say that from the time we met, my fire's being noisy over there. From the time that we met, I was always really clear about the direction that I wanted my life to go. So I always wanted to have acreage. I wanted to have a large family. I wanted to grow my own food starting in my early 20s. I was really interested in preparedness and having a pantry and things like that. So the lifestyle itself, kind of the homesteading lifestyle, has definitely been more driven by me over these years. And he's always been supportive of it and been the reason why, actually a huge part of the reason why we are able to live the kind of lifestyle that we live. But it's definitely been more of my kind of passion. And one of the things that's been happening over the last couple of years, probably because we don't have really young children anymore, so our life, how do I say this? There's just different kinds of opportunities for him now that didn't exist in the same way before, when he was the primary provider for our family. And when that was sort of like the role. He has a bit of a different role now. So there's a lot more opportunity for him to be able to fulfill some of his dreams and his desires for our life, which is really exciting for me. I'm interested to see kind of what happens around that. So I guess that's kind of a long-winded way to say that we both really enjoy this kind of lifestyle, but it definitely is more my passion. One of the things that's kind of been interesting that's been happening lately, and I think it's the stage of life that we're at, but it's that it feels like there's a lot more opportunity for Dan to do some of the things that he's been really interested in, passionate about. He really likes cars, likes Mustangs. I don't know if, for those of you that have been here for a while, you may have heard this story, but he actually was able to purchase a 1974, I think it is, Pontiac Le Mans that was actually his actual first car when he was 16 years old. I remember the car because we were dating at the time, and he tracked it down again and found it. It was kind of a fluke that he found it last summer and he was able to buy it back. So restoring that car is something that he's really excited about. And Dan loves to travel. So we're hoping to do more traveling in the next couple of years. I feel like the first half of our marriage has been very much about family, and I guess this is pretty typical for the stage of life that we're at, but it was about family, and Dan's role was really supporting our family, working really hard to help our family achieve the dreams and goals that we had and raise our children and all of that. And this last half of our lives and our marriage is going to be more about fulfilling some of his dreams, and that's really exciting for me. I have no idea where that is going to take us or where that adventure is going to take us, but I'm excited and looking forward to seeing where it goes. Oh, look at this. Cute little sweetie behind me here. Okay. We did talk about at one point selling the ranch, and I did share a little bit about that. Dan and I both did. We sat down and chatted with you guys about that and why we had decided to stay here. But one of the things I would say about that, because there were a few questions about whether we would still consider selling the ranch or not, is I feel like I've lived long enough at this point to never say never and never say always, because the future, you can set your life on a certain path and head in a certain direction, and with all the right intentions and the good work ethic and determination and all of that, and something can happen that can completely throw you off that path, or cause you, because it's new information and you choose to take a different path. So I'm really open to whatever. Dan and I have always been very spontaneous and very adventurous. So I don't know where our life is going to take us, but for now we're happy where we are, and we feel very blessed to be able to live the kind of lifestyle we live, and we plan for at least the foreseeable future at this point to stay here and continue doing what we're doing. So I'll touch a little bit here on our kids and our family. I mentioned our oldest son is 27 and that we have a grandchild. There were lots of questions about our kids especially, and I understand why, because we don't talk about our kids a lot on our channel, and our kids are not on our channel or on any of our social media, so there's some curiosity about them, which I totally understand. We made the decision a couple years ago not to have our kids on social media at all, as far as being on our channel or on my Instagram account or anything like that. And that's a decision we feel really good about, and we plan on continuing with that. I don't talk a lot about our personal reasons for why we've made that decision, because I think that it can come across as being judgmental of people that make a different choice. And that is not my intention at all. I think that each family, each to their own. And I know people make the best decisions for their kids with the information they have at the time. And for people that choose to have their kids on YouTube, that I have no judgment about that. It's just the decision that we personally make. So I don't, like I said, I don't want it to come across as judgmental. So I'm just going to leave it at, this is the decision that we feel is best for our family and for our kids. One of the questions that I do get about my kids that I did want to address is where they are when I'm filming, or how it is that they're so quiet when I'm filming. But I think a lot of people don't know that most of my kids are actually older teenagers now. So they're either not here when I'm filming, which is what we do try to do, as have me do my videos and do my filming when the kids aren't home, or they're old enough to go off and find something. I film on the main floor, which is where we are right now, and we have an upstairs and a downstairs that the kids can be. They also all have their own rooms, so that they can go and do something quietly while I'm filming, unlike when I had little kids, where it would have been impossible to film a video without a ton of background noise. And the other reason that I choose to wear lapel mics like this is because they are very good at not picking up the noise outside of directly around me and my space. That's one of the reasons I use one of these mics instead of one that sits on the top of my camera, for that reason as well. So I hope that answers that question. All right, let's move into farm-related questions. I'll just run down sort of some general information about our farm for those that are new here, and then talk a little bit about what our plans are for 2024. We have 160 acres in the central interior of British Columbia, Canada, and around 40 of those acres are in hay. We have probably 10 or 15 acres in pasture, and then the rest is forested. I think it might be in your top drawer. Dan's just grabbing a knife to go cut the hay bales so he can feed the cows. So one of the things that we want to do is do some logging in the area that's directly around our farmyard. So when you see me walking around, you can see that the forest is fairly close to our barn and our house. So we want to push that back by quite a substantial amount so that we have a good barrier between us and the forest, because we're surrounded by fir forests where we are. And that will give us a little bit of buffer so that we can protect the main area of our property, animals, our house, and all of that from forest fire should we end up with fire coming in close to our property. We do have one benefit. Our driveway goes through Crown land, and they're doing some logging with the goal of protecting the area around from really aggressive forest fire, because there's a lot of undergrowth happening and a lot of dead trees fallen in that area. So that will help protect us from the south side of our property. So that's sort of the plan as far as larger scale land management of the ranch. As far as what we're going to be doing with our animals, we're really happy with the way things are right now. When we first bought our property, we had thought that we would maybe get into some form of commercial farming. So we started with farming pigs. We had 8 sows at one point. I think we had 140 piglets at one point during the summertime. It was a lot. And we really enjoyed that kind of farming. With pigs in particular, the type of infrastructure we would have had to put in to be able to have winter barns to farrow in, because we live in a cold climate and piglets do not do well being born in the cold. That amount of financial input into infrastructure was prohibitive for us. And we were also at a point in our lives at that point when we first bought this place where we had a new baby, where we still had young kids, and we found that it was taking a lot of time away from that part of our lives. And Dan was working in town full time at that point, and I had to manage all of this mostly on my own. And so we just made the decision to get out of that kind of farming and put that on the back burner. And we have actually put it so far on the back burner that it's off the stove now. We're not going, our goal isn't to get into commercial farming at this point. It is to utilize our property as an agritourism type of property, and I'll get more into that in a minute, but not as far as commercial meat production. So we're happy with where we're at. We have 6 cows. We have 3 dairy cows that we have in milk off and on year round. So we always stagger them so that we have milk all year. And we raise chickens. We usually raise 100 meat birds every year for us. And then this year we did 7 turkeys, which was a perfect number for the amount of turkey that we like to have throughout the year. We raise between 4 and 6 pigs for our family, and then we also raise any of the males that are born out of our dairy cows. We castrate them and they become steers, and then we raise those up for our beef. So we produce 100% of our own meat on our property. We also produce 100% of all of our eggs because we have laying hens, except for usually November and December when they're not laying. I do buy eggs during that period of time. And so, and then we have a couple of ducks, and then we have sheep. We have 4 Romney ewes and 1 Romney ram. And so we're going to have some babies at the end of February, some lambs. And I love keeping sheep. Dan loves keeping sheep. They are just gentle. They're easy to handle. They do a great job of keeping areas cleared. They don't challenge fences the way goats do. Goats are... One of my friends said to me once, she said, "Friends don't let friends get goats." And I could not agree with her more. If you ask me if you should get goats, I will probably tell you no at this point. We've had goats off and on over the years, but I find of all livestock, they are the most troublesome. They really require excellent fences. But sheep are not like that. Sheep are fabulous. So we are keeping these sheep to be able to move around in the areas that we want to keep the undergrowth cleared on our property for fire management. And then I'll be selling their fleece and potentially working into learning how to do some fiber arts myself. I've always been attracted to that, and one of my neighbors spins. And I know she would teach me if I asked her. So that's something that's kind of down the road for us. So outside of those animals, we are not planning on getting any more livestock or changing anything about the way that we're running our property. The kind of nice thing about where we're at with our homestead right now is that we've been at this for long enough. It doesn't feel like we're reinventing the wheel all the time, or there's something new that we have to kind of figure out. We have rhythms in place. And on one hand, that's really nice. And on the other side of that is that it's not quite as exciting as it was when we first started. It was so exciting for probably 10 years because there's so many new things to learn when you first get into this kind of lifestyle. And now this is just kind of our life. So I am always looking to spice things up a little bit in my life, which is where YouTube comes into play. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. But do I have anything else to cover with the farm? Oh yes, with gardening. Gardening is something that I am absolutely passionate about. It's probably, of all of the things that I do connected to homesteading and our lifestyle, it's the thing that I love the most. And I am more excited this year about my garden than I have been in a very, very long time. I just completed a Master Gardener program and I learned a lot, particularly about soil health. And I'm excited to implement some of the things that I've learned into my garden and then take all of my years of experience. I've been gardening for over 20 years now and crystallize all of that into what I hope will be my best gardening season ever. Hopefully. I mean, there's certain things you just have no control over, like the weather, for instance, but I am really, really excited to start planting seeds, which is actually going to be within a couple weeks now. I always get lots of questions about YouTube, people that are interested in starting their own channel and wanting to understand a little bit about my history with YouTube, what led me to doing it, and all of that kind of thing. So I started YouTube 6 years ago, almost 7 years ago now, which just blows my mind. And I started it as a way to have a creative outlet that was something that was kind of outside of what I was doing as a homemaker, but also connected to it. So it wasn't totally separated from it, because otherwise I don't think I could have done it if it was something that was completely outside of what was already taking up most of my time. But I also knew that one day I would have the time, because at the time I had a baby, that in the future, when my youngest was old enough, that I would want to be working in some kind of way. And I knew I didn't want to be working outside of the home, so I wanted to create a business that I could work at from home. And I did a bunch of research into YouTube. YouTube was very different than it is now, but at the time, it looked like there was a good possibility that I could eventually turn it into a business. So I did that, and I started really slow, and I just kind of worked at it when I could. I was very sporadic sometimes, and sometimes I was able to post a lot, but I grew slowly over that period of time, and it was kind of a low stress growth for me. I wasn't one of those people that came onto YouTube and just kind of went viral right away and things got really big right away. It was just a slow and steady pace, which worked really well for me and where I was at in my life. Last September, Dan and I sat down, and we'd been talking about this for probably a year before we actually took the step and did this, but we talked about going into YouTube full time. We had a good enough foundation. I think I had 50,000 subscribers or something like that at that point. So we had a good enough foundation that we knew if we started producing more videos, and that we would be able to grow the channel to a point at which it could be a legitimate income stream for our farm. And Dan and I have always been of the mind that having multiple income streams is a great idea if you can do it, and especially if you have a farm. So at the end of October last year, we made the jump, and we did it. And Dan came home from work. So he was an automotive mechanic when we first got married. And then he went into heavy duty mechanics and then commercial transport. And then he went into management. So he was in management when he came home, and he really enjoyed that job. But our life with our big farm, the number of kids we have, and doing YouTube full time is a full-time job and then some. It's a full-time job for multiple people. So we knew in order to do YouTube full-time, him being home full-time would be necessary, because the YouTube part, I do a lot of the YouTube, the actual filming, the editing, and all of that kind of stuff falls to me. And so he would need to be home to be able to step up in the other areas that I would no longer be available for. So we did that, and it was very scary when we did it, but it was an awesome decision. And we were really lucky because we had a video that did very well shortly after we went full-time that helped to propel the channel forward, which was an absolute blessing, and I'm really grateful for that. So we have been now full-time for just over a year here on YouTube, and it has been such a crazy, wild year. There's been so many new and exciting and fun things happening. So that's just kind of my personal story with YouTube and where we're at with our channel now. Like I just said, we believe in lots of multiple streams of income and not having our eggs all in one basket. So we started a membership community, which we're actually going to be relaunching again in, I think, on the 6th or so, but I'll give you guys lots of notice for that. And that is off of our own website. So we have a website developed now. We have our membership community, which is a place for you to be able to have one-on-one interaction with me, to have me be able to answer your questions related to homesteading, to help you troubleshoot issues you're having in your garden, things like that. And then I also share a lot of information that is relevant to whatever topic we're talking about that particular month. So we have that, and then we wrote a cookbook this last year, and I am working on developing some courses connected to gardening, particularly gardening. There's going to be a lot of focus on that, and then getting into preserving and canning, cooking from scratch, and all of those kinds of things. So those are some of the other projects that have kind of come out of having a YouTube channel that are so much fun with me. I'm a very creative person, and I'm somebody who likes to be busy and likes to be intellectually stimulated, and I find a lot of these different projects have pushed me, grown me, developed me, frustrated me, and all of these things so much in this last year. And I'm so excited about 2024 for all of the projects that we have in play for 2024 is really, really exciting. I'm just going to quickly just kind of throw out some advice for those of you that are wanting to start a channel right now. Start a channel right away. And don't expect that you're going to get lucky and get a viral video and your channel is going to take off, because that only happens to very few channels. Usually it's more of a grind and it takes a long time and a lot of commitment. So just kind of expect that in the outset. Also, get a library of 10 videos on your channel before you ever publish your channel, because that gives something for people to look at when they come onto your channel and they find a video. They'll see that you have a few other videos to go to, but more than that, it allows you to practice and kind of get a little bit of a rhythm going and learn some skills about video creation before you actually launch your channel. I really wish I had done that. And then something else, and I think it might have been Mr. Beast or somebody that said this, I can't remember, back when I was doing a lot of research about YouTube, this was a piece of advice that always stuck with me. And that's that with every video, try to do one thing better than you did before. For at least 100 videos, just always do one thing better. And by the time you hit your 100th video, you should be a pretty decent YouTuber at that point. And I always thought that was really good advice, was just to get a little bit better with each video. And by the time you hit your 100th video, you should be a pretty decent YouTuber at that point. And as long as you're consistent and you're posting videos on the same days every week, which I know I'm not the best at doing. I try, my friends, I really try, but just sometimes it doesn't happen. But if you can be consistent, if you can get better with each video, and if you can get really clear about what story it is you're telling or what it is you're wanting to teach, then you can probably be successful on YouTube. And also keeping in mind that it does take time to get successful. Hi, kitty. That it does take time to grow a successful channel. So just be patient with yourself. I wanted to share with you before I end this video some of the things that I'm really excited about coming up in the next month that are related to my business. And the first is that I have a brand spanking new website I'm so excited about it. That's going to be launching in the next couple of weeks. And this website, I'm hoping, is going to make the experience of being on my website so much better. And for those of you that are part of my membership community, the membership community is a million times better, so much easier to navigate. I can go live with you right from the website itself, and I just cannot wait. So my membership community, I share all kinds of information there that are related to whatever the month's topics are. And then I do a live every month where you can ask me all your questions directly. The other thing about my membership community is you are able to ask me questions in lots of different ways. You can ask them right on the website. You can email me directly. You can send me a DM on Instagram. And because you're part of my membership community, it notifies me of that, and I can get back to you right away and directly with any questions that you might have, or help you troubleshoot a problem you're having in your garden or in your kitchen or anything like that. So it's one of my favorite things. It's one of my favorite aspects of my business. And having a membership community, I always get asked this, if it's going to impact the content that I make here on YouTube, and it doesn't. I have had a membership community since May, and I create just as much content here on YouTube for free for you as I do for paid members. So it doesn't change that. The other thing that we're doing is courses. So the first course that I'm going to be launching is a seed starting course, and that's going to be in the next couple of weeks. And it is the way that I try to do any type of educational stuff that I do, and you probably know this being here on YouTube with me, is I try to keep it pretty simple and pretty casual and easy to digest so that it doesn't become overwhelming. Because I don't know about you, I find sometimes when I do research online, I just become overwhelmed with the amount of information and the high level that we can get information at now compared to times in the past. I just feel like it can be really overwhelming. So I really try to take that overwhelm away and make it really easy to digest and really easy to understand for you. So that course is going to be launching, like I said, in the next couple weeks. If you're part of my newsletter list, then you will get notified when all this stuff goes live, but I do try to share that here on YouTube as well, and over on Instagram too. So those are things I'm really excited about. I love creating content so much, and I love helping you guys with questions. I love being able to share what I'm doing here. I love that I'm able to take the meals that I make for my family every day and inspire other people to cook from scratch and to keep things simple and not to be overwhelmed with learning how to cook from scratch and all of that. It just feels like such an honor to be able to do that. And I am incredibly grateful to each and every one of you for being here with me every week, for watching my videos, for sharing my videos, liking them, all the things that you do to support my channel and my business. I am incredibly grateful. I hope that you enjoyed this video, everyone. And if you have any other questions that you would like to ask me, do drop those in the comments, because in future Q&A videos, I can reference back to this video and look through your comments and answer any other questions that I might have missed in today's video. I hope that you enjoyed this, everyone, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.